Yes, yes, brilliant. So before we get into your work, Petronella Ravenshear, what's on your mind today?
What's my mind? Well, I was thinking about that. I was thinking I feel a tad dreamy because it's 10 a.m. here, and normally I'm sort of fully awake, alert by about midday. I suppose I wake up quite slowly,
Yes,
and I love waking up here because the sun's nearly always shining, and we've
lovely.
got a rabbit full of squirrels and a garden full of squirrels and woodpeckers and rabbits and things like that, and it's very very lovely here.
Oh,
And
how gorgeous.
I know I feel really blessed. Bit
Yeah, so you're taking to living in Florida very well then.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very well. It is very hot. It's very
Yeah,
humid. It's
yeah.
like all day detox, what could be better?
So for anyone new to your work, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I trained in nutrition at the Institute for Optimum Nutrition in London because my son was ill a lot when he was little. He had constant respiratory infections, and I used to take him to the doctor, and the doctors always gave him antibiotics. And
Mm,
I didn't know then what I know now about antibiotics. Sometimes, of course, we have to take them,
yeah,
life death situations. But they were prescribed in those days. He is now 35, much too regularly. And
yeah.
so he started getting asthma, and his gut stopped working properly. And he was missing so much school that I was accused by, not overtly, but, the inference was that I was suffering from Munchausen syndrome, when a mother,
Yes, I do. Awful. Yes.
I think it was terrible.
Yeah.
So I took matters into my own hands and we went to see lots of alternative practitioners. And looking back on it now, it just seems so nuts that nutrition was the last thing I thought about. The last thing I thought about doing was changing his diet. And we did change his diet thanks to a book I picked up, total serendipity, as is so
Yes.
much else in life, by Patrick Holford,
Yeah.
and took him off dairy, took him off wheat, started giving him probiotics, supplements like zinc and vitamin C, and he began to get better. And I found myself reading more and more about nutrition. And in the back of the book, one of the books I was reading, it said something like, "Are you interested in a career in nutrition?" And I just
Mm.
thought, wow.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah, my hair stood on end. And I thought,
Yeah.
gosh, I really am. And then you think, well, it's the kind of thing that other people do. They'll probably say when I go for the interview, no, you're not the right kind of person.
Yeah.
But they did know. They said, yeah, you can sign up, you can get started in September. So that's where it all began. And it's really, like my son, was always all about helping people to feel better,
Mm.
helping people get more joy out of life. Because one of the principal prime things that people, niggling thing that people complain about is lack of energy.
Mm.
And it's such an easy thing to fix when we get our diet right and we get enough sleep and we get our
Yes.
digestion working and our immune system. So that's how it all started. Yeah.
Well, one of the things about your work that I really love and about you that I really love is that you always see possibility where other people see permanence. And I particularly mean that in terms of midlife, because I give your name out to all my clients
Thank
if
you.
they're a little bit stuck. And I have done for years and years, ever since I met you, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And yeah, I just love that idea of that real gentle encouragement, but you're firm when you need to be. But just seeing possibility in everyone and giving people some hope is just so gorgeous. So, what have you learnt about the stories that people carry about themselves?
Yeah, so much of our stuff is programmed, deep, deep in the past when, our parents are talking to us, or the people who are looking after us, and we don't have any filters. Anything that anybody says at that point just goes straight through into our subconscious and it becomes part of our program, really. And
Yes,
it can be really hard. Well, you know that too, really, really well with what you do. It can
yes.
be really hard to write a new program.
Mm.
But we are ever flexible. Part of us is always excited about learning something new. And so it's just giving people little bits of this and that, small tips, small things that we can incorporate into our daily lives to start to make
And that,
changes
yeah.
to how we feel. Yeah. And actually thinking about looking at obstacles, I remember I'm one of those people who really likes moving furniture around in the house. And Ricardo's always astonished because he'll come into a room one day and say, "Oh my goodness, how did you move that?" And you
Yeah.
look at something for long enough and you work out how to, how to
Yes.
manage it. And it's a bit like that with, with people's long-standing childhood traumas. There's always a way through, a
Yes.
way to connect, with somebody.
You just need somebody to see the pattern, don't you, to help you to see the pattern.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So you've worked with thousands of people over the years. What do you think people get wrong about transformation?
I think the main thing that we get wrong about transformation is imagining it that it's a really difficult thing to do. And
Mm.
I remember I had a really good yoga teacher once, and I'm sure you'd say the same thing. Surrender, don't struggle,
Yes.
and just remain open, rather
Yes.
than thinking, there's this massive mountain that I've got to climb.
Yeah.
Just relax into it. And actually our subconscious, as we know, is so powerful.
Mm.
And, when we explain to our subconscious mind what we want, how we want to feel, what we want to change, the brain has this incredible capacity for organizing it for us.
Yes,
For,
absolutely. It's really funny though. I remember hearing the thing about surrendering, and not struggling, and I didn't really understand it until I understood it. And it was
exactly.
a really, for me, it was more an embodied. I had to understand that in an embodied way, which of course is how I teach people to completely surrender, rather than in a mindset way.
Yeah,
Because the mindset way, especially I think, when you have lots of responsibilities, for me just felt, oh my God, you're asking me to do another task.
yeah,
And it just feels too much for my system, and I will never be able to stick at it. But I'm sort of, I follow phase two of the human being diet, which I'm going to get you to explain a little bit. And I've been on it steadily for quite a while now. And I love it so much. And it's transformed quite a lot of things, other things. Like I don't really want to drink any alcohol at all. Not because I decided not to, but I just don't feel like it. I think I'm full of so much goodness in my whole system, and I'm
it's
trying to. It just makes me really think about the salads I'm eating, and the combination of things that I eat, and trying to be much wider, because I think sometimes when you're busy looking after other people, you tend to just grab things. I mean, I will have to laugh a little bit because just before I saw you, I wolfed down my lunch, which is terrible. And I was just like, this is not the way to do it. I should have waited till afterwards. But I was so ravenous. Um, but I really love that idea of that. It's such a great way, such an empowering way to look after yourself, where you take real pleasure. And I think that's what I really loved about everything you have to say, because it's about giving yourself pleasure. And often people in this world are talking about denying yourself.
exactly. It's all about looking after ourselves.
Yeah.
Learning to look after ourselves, doing really simple things like starting the day with a big glass of water, half a liter
Yes.
of water first in the morning, which is when we really, really need it. So as you
Yes.
say, putting things in, really focusing on that rather than taking things away, because
Yeah.
there's so much denial,
Yes, there is.
in this life, isn't there? So yeah,
Yes.
it's about learning to look after ourselves. And it's really interesting what you said about drinking much less. Me too. Not
Mm,
not like a actually, it was slightly conscious with me. We went to somebody's birthday party in Charleston, Carolina, in February, and this guy Dick, and he was 90 years old,
mm.
and he'd always been a bit of a bon vivant, and he always drank a lot of wine and everything else. And there was something different about him, and he was much gentler and softer. And we were having a chat, and he said, "Well, my dear, I've stopped drinking." And at the age of 90,
Mm.
and I think part of that was because he was worried about falling over his walking stick, but
Yeah.
also because he wanted to be here, he wanted to be
Yeah.
present.
You want to be
And I think
present.
we spent so much of our youth kind of trying to numb ourselves in
Mm.
some. And then finally we reach a point where we think, actually, we want to be here. We want to really
Yes.
experience and really enjoy this precious life. There's not that much of it. It doesn't go on forever.
No, it doesn't. I love that
Mm.
he had that revelation at 90.
Yes.
There's hope for us all. And I often work with women who assume this is just who I am. Do you think we've become too quick to mistake adaptation for personality?
Yeah. I think that obviously deep down who we are, that doesn't really change, but it's how we behave. And
Mm.
just coming back to what you were saying earlier, to, to look after ourselves, to honor ourselves,
Yeah.
um, in the same way that we do to other people, and to check in with how we speak to ourselves. Especially as women, we're much too good at saying things to ourselves like, "Oh, look what you've done now. This is just
Yes.
horrible." We
Yes.
don't spend enough time congratulating ourselves for the things that we're doing really well.
Mm.
And that's the key part of the human being diet. Just taking time and saying, I am so proud of myself.
Mm.
I didn't think I could do this. It's tough, but I am doing it. And I'm really, really pleased with myself. It's
Yeah,
sort of,
no, it's so fabulous. And I particularly like how that point in life where you just feel, oh my God, I'm completely stuck and I can't change at all, which is
yeah,
midlife, and you're probably pulled in lots of different directions as well. So you feel that, everything's a bit too much anyway. I love how women get completely transformed. So do you want to tell us a bit more about the human being diet and how you came about it and
yeah,
how it's
exactly.
doing?
No,
It's
thank you.
thriving, isn't it?
It's really thriving.
Yeah.
It really again, serendipity. I was quite busy in my practice. I had a waiting list, and the perceived wisdom is, well, you put up your prices, if you've got a wait.
Yes.
So I kept doing that, and people kept coming, and I was thinking, this really isn't fair.
Yeah.
People shouldn't have to be well off in order to understand how to look after themselves to get more joy out of life.
Mm.
How am I going to spread this message to more people? And almost with that thought, a journalist from the Daily Mail got in touch, and she said, I've been commissioned to write about your program. It wasn't called the human being diet in those days. It was called the Petronella diet.
That's right.
And
Yes.
yeah, and I've got 3 months. And almost with that, I thought, well, I've got 3 months to really help you turn your life around. And I've also got 3 months to write a book, because I was thinking, just imagine
Yes.
somebody reading that article
Mm.
thinking, wow, that's amazing. She really transformed so much of herself, her health, how she feels. I wish I could afford to go and see a nutritionist,
Yes.
spend 1,000 quid or whatever. And then I had this picture. They'd scroll down to the end of the article and see that there was a book
Mm.
for 15 quid or something, and realize that they could follow the same program and get the same results at home. So that's how I wrote the book. And then the book eventually turned into Donna Donna Ida and I did lots of Instagram lives together.
Yes. They were
She was,
super fun. They were
it was
super
super
fun.
fun,
Yes.
wasn't
Yeah.
it? In lockdown, so it was
Mm.
2020,
Mm.
and we got together every week and we had a really good laugh. But we did important things as well. We really helped people, and engendered this sense of community.
Yes.
Everybody felt a part of something, and it was it was fun, but it was a really constructive thing to do.
Yeah. It was
And
great.
yeah, and then eventually the community got quite big, and I realized that lots of people were running with human being diet HBD, and sometimes people were putting their own kind of slant on it, and the purity of what the original program was being diluted.
Mm.
That's when I thought I really need to start the HBD Club, which
Yeah.
is a safe place where everybody can connect, where they can be sure that they're getting official answers to their HBD questions
Mm.
and all the support that they need. So yeah, it turned into the HBD Club, really, from my practice into a book, into the Instagram community, and now the Human Being Diet Club, which is a wonderful place to be and full of really inspiring, generous, kind-hearted women. It's
Mm.
really, really wonderful. It's a real honor to be there
I'll,
with them.
I'll put all of those links in underneath this and in your post for tomorrow. And so what's the premise of it, of the diet?
The diet, it's called the Human Being Diet.
Mhm.
Some nitwit in America thought it was something to do with cannibalism. Can you imagine? It's called the Human Being Diet because, yeah, because it's a diet for every human being,
Yes.
every adult human being, man or woman, who cares about their health, whether, current or future health.
Mm.
And it's a way of eating that respects our ancient genes, our ancient DNA, because, our DNA hasn't changed very much in the last 50,000 years or so, but our environment has changed beyond recognition. So it's eating minimally processed foods, a bit like, as people do on the Mediterranean diet, Having periods of fasting, which is also deep in our DNA. We had long periods of time where food was scarce. And so we got very good at converting the extra food when food was available into fat to keep us going through the scarce times. So, so many of us beat ourselves up about putting on weight or, whatever. But actually, we are the survivors. Us human beings who are here
Yes.
today are the great, 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 great grandchildren of the wily cavemen and women who were good at finding food when food was scarce and good at laying down extra fat, to take us through the lean times.
Mm.
So it's about eating minimally processed food, having fasts, only 5-hour fasts between each meal, during which time we drink only water, getting rid of all the grains for the first 2 weeks, because when I was in practice, I used to think to myself, if everybody stopped eating gluten, I wouldn't have that much to do because it's behind so many problems,
Mm.
chiefly because it makes everybody's gut leaky and
Yes.
sets off the immune system and makes us, inclined to go into a pro-inflammatory state.
Mm.
So really the human being diet is about reducing inflammation in our bodies, about giving our bodies exactly what they need in terms of nutrients to get the most out of life. And getting enough sleep, spending time outside, not doing any cardiovascular or intense exercise. And a few people, probably about 10% of the people who start to follow HBD or want to,
Yeah.
think, oh, well, count me out, because I can't do without my hind
Mm.
to run every day. But,
Yes.
we're wanting to spend more time, and I know this is music to your ears, more time in the parasympathetic
Yeah.
nervous system rather
Yes.
than sympathetic. Parasympathetic is where we rest and
Mm.
digest and where we should spend most of our time. And the problem is that many of us have got addicted to the go, go, go of the sympathetic nervous system,
Yes. Yeah. Um,
acceleration on the floor.
well, I think people sort of forget that their working life and their modern life is so, it's so geared towards sympathetic.
Yeah.
And so then doing that in your spare time as fitness to me is kind of a bit insane. And especially at this age, I kind of think, actually, I'm going to do the thing that really suits me, that really suits my mood and my energy levels.
Yeah.
And it's not a hit class. It
Right.
never was, actually. I used to think, what am I doing here? This is just so ungracious.
Horrible boot camps. Yeah.
Oh, I never really like them. I do like boxing though.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet. I'm
Short,
really looking forward.
short bursts of boxing is great. I've got a
Yeah.
punch bag in my studio. And whenever I'm a bit frustrated or angry, the gloves go on and I punch it out, and I'm like, oh, that feels so much better.
Well, you look so well, and you look very kind of zen. So whatever it is you're doing really suits you.
Well, the human being diet is very much one of my pillars, actually. I have to say, and I've had a really lovely summer, just kind of
I'm so
being
glad.
much more mindful after
Yeah.
not a very mindful winter because there was so much stuff going on personally and in the world that really affected me. You kind of realize suddenly everything
Yeah.
um, has an accumulative effect.
Yeah.
And actually, your health is such an easy way, your kind of well-being is such an easy way to really influence how you think and,
Yeah.
and the mood that you wake up in, isn't it? So
Exactly.
it's a bit of a no-brainer.
And one
Um,
of the things I think is to
yeah.
stop watching the news. None of us need to watch.
Yes, no, we don't need to watch it in that relentless way.
No.
But also, actually, another thing about it is we don't have to be passive. We don't have to think that the world has to be like this. We actually can affect change.
Yeah.
So I think being more active and engaged in things that you really care about is a great way to release stress
It,
because you're in community, you have meaning and purpose.
yeah.
So it's not just to be a passive receiver of all of this news, which is just too overwhelming for the
Too
system.
overwhelming.
Yes,
Exactly.
but you choose the things that you can actually take action in and have some influence over, and that actually makes you feel very empowered.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of, for me anyway, it's not a case of kind of bubble wrapping myself,
No.
but it's actually kind of being engaged in a really intentional way. I think anything intentional for me is just a really good a goal to aim for.
Yeah,
If I have goals, it will be that.
exactly. And in our, in our small circles,
Yes.
making, helping to make people feel better,
Yes. Yes,
to
exactly.
empower people, because, it's very easy to imagine ourselves as kind of sitting ducks, and especially
Yes.
when it comes to our, our genes. But we're not sitting ducks. There's so
No.
much we can change. Even if
Yes.
we've got genes that predispose us to certain things, I think that's a really good example that it depends on how we live our life.
Yeah.
How we can
Absolutely.
reduce inflammation by choosing what we eat and drink. That has
Yes.
a profound effect on our experience of life, how we feel.
And so what's been your experience of living in America? Because of course they use so many pesticides in food. It has a very different approach to, mainstream kind of food. I can imagine that you're very particular about where you shop, but just tell me about what you found once you landed in Florida.
Well, we're very lucky because we're quite near to Palm Beach. Miami's about an hour and a half, so it's not like
Uh-huh.
we're in the Midwest and
Yes.
there's almost nothing to be found, other than fast food. And I was pleasantly surprised when we got here about the supermarkets and about the range of organic foods.
Mm.
Because Americans get very bad PR, don't they? You think
They
that
do. Yes,
all
they
the
do.
restaurants are terrible and, it's just
Yes.
fast food and you can't buy anything fresh.
Yeah.
True. Really,
Yeah.
really not true. And we happen to live in a place that's not, there's a lot of open countryside, but there are horses rather than, it's not arable land. So there aren't any pesticides or,
Great.
insecticides around here because people wouldn't spray their land because of the horses. So I think
Oh,
we're very fortunate in that regard. And we do have our own well. Can you imagine?
oh, I'm moving there.
I know it's
That's
incredible.
everyone's dream at the moment, to have some land with a well.
Some land with a well. It's so
Yes.
exciting. And
Brilliant.
you drill down, and if they don't drill far enough down, you get a lot of iron in your water, which dyes everything orange. And iron, as we know, isn't particularly good for us, not in big quantities anyway. And then
Yes.
you drill further down and you get to this kind of sulfurous place where there's incredible sand, because Florida's basically a swamp.
Mm.
And it was uninhabitable except by the Dauji Indians who lived here until I think the 1970s, because there was no air conditioning.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and people still find relics of the Native American Indian past in their gardens here sometimes. So there's a huge amount of history, even though America is only 250 years old this year.
Yeah.
So obviously, people have been living here for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's not long at all, actually, is that?
no, it's incredible, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is incredible. And so, how do you keep your hair so smooth? I'm digressing a little bit in the Florida heat because
Yes,
I always think of you as a real English rose. So it's funny that you're living in this really hot, hot, hot place, but you still look the same.
that's so sweet of you. Thank you very much. I think the humidity is very good for our skin, but maybe less so for our hair. I
Yes.
put some of that serum on it. Actually, I just
Right.
slapped some on before we met because it was standing on end a bit. And I thought, that's no good. There's a fine line, isn't there, between looking fuzzy and drenched.
Yes, yeah, I think so. There is. And tell me what feels. Tell me what gives you hope at the moment.
What gives me hope, I tell you, is the people joining the HBD club.
Yeah.
And, it's really, I can't begin to describe how wonderful it is when we have lives for Q&A and presentations twice a week. And when we see that the new people who've just, they've just started and they look tired and
Yes.
sometimes they look a bit grey, their skin looks a bit dull. And of course they're anxious because they're starting something new.
Mm.
And as we know, that takes a lot of energy. It's much easier to keep doing what we've always done.
And also you're a bit uncertain, and uncertainty can feel a bit discombobulating, can't it?
Exactly.
Mm.
And we watch this transformation that happens in a short period of time over a matter of a few weeks. Some of our members have been with us for a year or longer. We
Yeah.
started in January 25. And it's just so wonderful and so gratifying to see that transformation. They suddenly realize that actually their body does really like these changes and
Yes.
they are feeling so much better and it's so much easier than they thought it would be. And it's,
Yes.
being open to embracing a new way of eating and living and, drinking more water and
Mm.
relaxing more. And it's lovely,
Yes.
lovely to see that. Yeah, it's a real pleasure and a real honor, actually. I feel
A-
very grateful.
And you were telling me that you were writing another book. Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yes, so we've just come out with the HBD Reset
Yes.
Cookbook,
Yes.
which is wonderful, written with my dear friend Elizabeth Whiting, Lizzie, who's a genius. And she's taken what she calls the HBD larder and transformed it into the most delectable recipes, because up until now, I'm not a foodie and I don't enjoy spending hours fiddling away in the kitchen.
Mm.
But Lizzie does. And I thought it was enough to give people a list of foods that they could have. And if it was me, I'd say, open a bag of salad, get yourself a packet of prawns. Lizzie said,
Yeah.
no, we can't have that. I can't live like that. So she came up with these brilliant recipes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And we've also got the HBD journal,
Yeah.
which is a fantastic place to keep a record
That.
of water you're drinking, how you're feeling. There are also some great recipes in there, thanks to Lizzie as well.
Right.
So those two books came out in April, which is very exciting. Yeah.
And have you got anything else coming along?
There's a new cookbook, Top Secret, coming in January. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Um, and what feels most important to you at this stage? Because I'm thrilled for you. I'm thrilled that it's being talked about constantly. I mean, you always have been talked about, but you've gone seriously mainstream, which is fab to see you and all your pieces that come
Thank
out.
you.
Um,
So
what feels really important at this stage of your life for you?
at this stage in my life, my son got married a couple of years ago. I've got a darling, darling daughter-in-law, and I hope that maybe there might be a little, patter of tiny feet. And I'm kind of, I've always pushed myself really hard, pushed myself out of my comfort zone, but I'm beginning to think, you know what? I think that I'm quite happy with what I've achieved, with, how the human being diet is growing. People are talking about it. People are sharing it. I'm happy with the books. And I would love to be able to spend more time busy being rather than busy
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And especially if little grandkids come along. So I'd like to be ready for that. It's so tempting. And you know the feeling to keep doing it, to keep
Yeah.
going, to keep pushing. But I think there comes a point where we have to say, actually, I'm happy with,
Yes. Yeah.
with what I've done, with what I've contributed.
Yeah.
We'll still contribute in whatever way we can, but not in such a full on way.
No. Well, I decided when I moved to the sea, actually, I decided that I would not work on Fridays. And that's been really lovely.
Really
Kind of
lovely.
cramming everything into Monday,
Yeah.
Thursdays, and it's just a day just to be. And that's a nice little tiptoe into doing a bit less. But it's very tempting, isn't it, when you're working with people
Yeah,
and you love the transformation in them to
exactly.
almost get quite. It's quite seductive, isn't it? It's quite a
It is
seductive way
that
to be wanted, and
wanted
yes,
exactly, and to be able to share this
to
amazing
be able,
stuff.
yeah, it's quite seductive at the same
Yeah,
time.
and probably like
Um,
you, if you're researching something for something,
yes,
it takes you down so many fascinating rabbit.
yes, it does. Yeah,
2 days later, you emerge thinking, "Wow, what a
I
rabbit!"
know. I've had another great idea. Let me try to do this. I know it's really hard to not go down that route. If there was one thing that you wish more people understood about themselves, what would that be?
Gosh, that's a really, really good question. I think the one thing that we need to understand about ourselves is that we are part of the universe. You know
Yes.
that we are. I love. I don't know who it was who said you are a child of the universe.
Mm.
And what we are doing in our own little microsphere is important for the rest of the world. The more
Yes.
love
Yeah.
we show ourselves, the more that radiates out to everybody else
Yeah.
and to the world. So it starts with very, very small steps, looking after ourselves, really respecting ourselves. It's a hard concept, self-love, but I think one of the ways which it's sort of easy to start is to check in with the way we speak to ourselves, like we were
Mm.
saying earlier on. And, to take time to say to yourself, well done. I'm so proud of that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
proud of, so proud of the way I'm doing this. Yeah.
Mm.
And to love
Lovely.
it, and that shows on the outside.
And I think when you're more at peace with yourself, of course, that radiates out. You actually have an effect on everybody else's nervous system. But if you're constantly at war with yourself,
Yeah.
that also radiates out. So it's
That's you, Nahid. You look amazing. You really do. You look,
oh,
yeah. No, you really radiant and really peaceful. And anybody looking at you say, whatever she's doing, I want to do that.
Well, it's the human being diet is part of it, without a doubt. I've got some quick fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
What do you know now?
Oh, I've lost that connection.
Your younger self lived in Huntington. Did you hear that?
No, sorry. Can you say it again? Sorry.
Yes. What do you know now that your younger self would have found hard to believe?
Yeah, well, I think that comes back down to self-love as well, you
Yeah.
know? I think that's really, really key. I think it underpins absolutely everything. Hard concept, but we get better at it as we get older.
Yes. Great. And what's the belief you've let go of?
That everything's hard, like we were saying before.
Yeah.
Everything's easy if we would just relax into it, we surrender it
Yes.
rather than struggling and fighting. Just
Yes.
let it happen.
Although I would say, if anybody wants to go on a human being diet in the middle of winter, is not the time to do it. That's
Not
when I first.
time to
That's
do
that's
it.
the first time I did it. Although the second time by myself, and I was like, "Oh, this is so tough." But actually, I've done it before. I've done it since in winter, and it's much easier because it's now in my system, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I get it. I know why I'm doing it.
And the first time you do it, you think, I might die or something. I don't know how this is going to work out. Can I survive this?
Well, I had your support, so it was really easy because I'd had that weekly accountability thing that I was always late for. I'm so sorry,
No,
but I had that weekly check-in, and it was just like, oh my god, the woman with the fantastic cheekbones. I must please her.
that's so sweet.
So it was actually very easy because I came to see you then. And name something that you do that's a really easy way to ground yourself. What do you do?
Yeah, I think get out of bed in the morning, put your feet literally on the ground before you do
Yes.
anything, and think, thank goodness I had a great sleep, or maybe I didn't have a great sleep, but I'm here, and this is
Yes.
going to be a wonderful day. I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to start with a big glass of water.
Which my whole household does now. I mean, I'm a big water drinker anyway, but we both go glug 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 first thing in the morning. So it's your influence ripples through my house. And I just wanted to say, actually, thank you so much for doing what you do and doing it in such a beautiful, authentic way. Because I've known you for so long, and you are still you, and you're still saying the same message in this beautiful, really inclusive way. And you're just so in such a warm way that is completely the opposite of what most people think about diets and all that boring stuff, which I really hate the whole diet culture, but I absolutely love
Thank
that
you.
your way of eating, just a new kind of way of eating, and how you explain it so well.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that diet, that word has such
Yeah,
negative connotations, but
it
in a
does.
traditional sense,
Yes,
it means a way of life,
yes, yes,
as in the Mediterranean diet. So that's why it's called the human being diet. It is
yes,
a way of living that suits our ancient genes, suits
yeah.
us, makes us feel good.
And it suits so many of us, Petronella. Thank you so much for making time. I'll put all the links to all of your brilliant books
Thank you so much.
down below. And if you're watching, I've got Petronella's Q&A coming up tomorrow as well. So that's going to be on my Substack. Go and have a read of that. And this will be available to everyone, all the subscribers. So thanks for joining me, Petronella.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you
Lots
so
of love. Big
much.
love to
Lots
you.
of love
Bye
to
bye.
you.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.